That sounds so weird.
Okay, Iggy, are we ready? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm Benny.
I'm Valerie.
And this is Wholehearted Living.
Yes.
So welcome to the podcast. Iggy, how are you doing?
Good. Hello.
Hello. Iggy.
Iggy is turning, how old are you turning, Iggy, on Sunday? Iggy.
28.
Are you there, Iggy?
Wow.
Okay. Oh, 28. 28 years old.
I stopped counting.
Oh, boy.
Wow. You got a long way to go, brother.
His birthday's this weekend. How fun.
Yeah, that's really fun. We're going to...
It's the stage where I'm used to saying a certain number,
Uh-huh.
and now I have to change it.
No,
Yes.
I second guess it.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what's funny is there was a point where I made myself older. I didn't make myself older. I said I was older than I actually was. And that was weird because then I felt good. Like, oh, I'm not 48. I'm only 47. And I was really happy about that. But then now I'm at the stage where
Now I'm at the stage.
Now I'm at the stage where I will say, oh, I'm only 57. And then Peter will look at me and go, no, you're 58.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway.
If you heard that thing crash, don't worry. It was just my daughter being quiet as she walked down the stairs. So nothing like saying we're going to start the podcast and then bam, the entire world breaks down. No, I'm just kidding.
That was
Iggy, happy birthday. The entire world didn't break down. Apollo 13, it did though.
Oh.
That was another story that we said earlier. Never mind. Congratulations on being older. Is that what you... Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's what I mean to say. Happy birthday, Iggy. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for doing the sound and doing everything we're doing. Well, folks, if you are with us, you know that in the past we've done a surprise topic, but we have changed what we're doing now, and we are reading a book called
The Gifts of Imperfection.
The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, and we invite you to read along with us. We've done 2 podcasts so far, right, on this? Mm-hmm. And the first 2 were on the first section of the book, which is...
It's basically half of the book.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like the introduction and all that good stuff.
She really gets into why... Because, see, here's the thing. If you don't know what the problem is, and this is true, if you don't know what the problem is, then having guideposts to fix it isn't really helpful,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, in other words, if you're saying, hey, we're going to fix that, and you really don't understand the problem, then that's going to be an issue because you really don't even understand the issue that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So the issues that she really largely talks about are...
Shame.
Shame is one of the, and certainly that's the last one we did. I'm not going to summarize, we encourage you to go listen to the other podcasts, but one of the things she said, I'm just going to summarize this real quick. Valerie and I decided to just kind of repeat this part, was the people that she researched who seemed to have the best shame resilience, meaning all of us deal with shame, right? But she is saying some people are able to deal with shame, and instead of spiraling down and getting all messed up, they often share these 4 particular, not guidelines, I don't know what they are.
Tips,
characteristics.
Yeah.
And they figured out, oh no, this is wrong. And I was so excited that I had it in my hand. What are the 4? Where are they, Valerie Lynn?
I don't know. I can't scroll like you can.
Oh, that's right. Here they are.
Okay.
So here's the 4 things. They understand shame and recognize what messages and expectations trigger shame for them. So they are able to identify, I'm in a shame spiral, and instead of just allowing it to dominate and control them, they're able to recognize it. And so that has to do with a lot of different things, which we'll probably get into. The second thing they do is they practice critical awareness by reality checking the messages and expectations that tell us that being imperfect means being inadequate. So to me, this is a big deal because lots of people, lots of us, lots of you that are listening perhaps deal with trying to be perfect all the time.
Right.
And when we are trying to be perfect, it just is another thing that can potentially spiral us out of control and prevents us from moving forward.
Exactly.
So it's always fascinating. I don't know if I shared this already. Did I share my Spanish illustration? No. So I'm just going to say this, that what's fascinating to me is when we were learning a language, when I was learning Spanish, it was fascinating to encounter people who had lived in Ecuador for quite some time and still did not speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And the long and the short of it is they said, well, I don't speak it well.
Mm-hmm.
And what was fascinating is I thought, well, you never will.
Right. If you don't practice.
If you don't practice, yeah.
If you
the
don't
only
try,
way
yeah.
you speak well is if you make mistakes.
Right.
And then eventually you learn how to speak it well.
Right.
But if you're trying to speak it perfectly from the beginning, yeah, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
And I think that's life.
Yeah.
I mean, if we try to do this life perfectly, then we don't risk anything because
Right.
we're afraid of.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, obviously we need to move on with, but do we need to do everything perfectly, or do we need it to do at the best of our ability?
Yeah,
to the best of
exactly.
our ability.
And we're actually, that's part of the guidepost, isn't it? One. So maybe I'm wrong because I remember another guidepost too. So anyway, number 3, the people that are able to deal with shame resilience really well, they reach out and share their stories with people they trust. So they don't just say it to everybody and post it on Instagram as if, here it is, let me announce to the world my imperfections. But they're able to be vulnerable with people that they can trust and share what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Super big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely lived in a shame spiral for many years.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, they speak shame. They use the word shame.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about how they're feeling and they ask for what they need. So this is also a key thing. So
that's a lot what we talked about last week, and we're going to move into the guideposts this week.
That's right. So the last thing I am going to say, though, is that is just the definition, because we mentioned this, and this is important, that shame is shame is saying I am bad, whereas guilt is saying I did something bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a huge distinction between those two things. So we don't want you to mistake that maybe you are experiencing guilt for something.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually good. So
Sure.
according to Brene, but if you're saying I am bad, that's never good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did the summary. You get to do the rest of the podcast. Okay. I'm gonna get a drink. No, I'm kidding. Go for it.
Well, I did read the guidepost number 1, and it's cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. And I really did like this guidepost because so often a lot of us, if not most of us, we really do care what other people think of us or what people think of how we do something or whatever. Like we are worried or we're, aware of what we're doing and questioning like, what will they think or what, and, so letting go of what people will think about you and living your authentic life just the way you are, you will pull in the people that you will really connect with, and the other people then may not matter so much. While I was reading this, it hit a lot for me because I recognized a lot of through my whole life, like as I mentioned earlier, I'm 58, so through my whole life, I realized that there was a lot of part of me where I wasn't living an inauthentic life because I was living in shame basically on a lot of part of my first marriage, and I was trying to be what I thought I was supposed to be. I was trying to be what I thought people wanted to see of me in my marriage, and I wanted to pretend that it was there. It was there. So I was not authentic at all during a lot of those years.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing is the family secret type thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you want everybody to see the facade, and there's a certain image that people want to portray, and so it's easy to get a shame spiral for that. For me, it was more related to work. In order to advance, which sounds really odd since I was a pastor, and it's like, oh, what do you mean advance? But I mean, I'm ashamed to say this, it's funny, but I really, but it's like I didn't intentionally say to myself, it was just something that was way down deep. It's like, I want that thing, whatever that next thing, I want to, I don't know if it's being perceived a certain way or if I wanted to speak in a certain kind of gig or I want whatever it is.
Sure.
And it's like, and I recognize now, I can say this, that I said and did things that weren't necessary. The thing is that I convinced myself that it was me.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't that I was overtly saying, okay, that is not me. And
but I'm going to try to be this way.
yes,
Yeah.
it was like I actually was convincing myself of something that was just simply not true. And so I could say it with like conviction,
Sure,
at times, and yet
at the end of the day, you were probably realizing in some way, whether it's just you not, because she does point out, like, you're gonna, if you are living this inauthentic life, you are gonna end up being kind of like a depressed person, a sad person, I don't know. I think I might have underlined it, but it was really, it was a really good,
just the idea of how we feel and how we spiral and how we do this. And see, in my case, what I can say is when I was doing that, the two things happened. I felt a little dirty. Like, that sounds weird, but I just mean, it just felt like I'm not, but again, I was convincing myself, no, I do believe this.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is that, I think they could recognize that's not this dude. You know what I mean? At some level, I was probably more convincing than some people. I think I shared in the last podcast a gentleman that went to our church who was just not fooling anybody. But in my case, I was moving in some directions, but the truth is that there was and there were certain, this is another thing that's interesting that really can convince you or really can mess you up. There were some times that I was absolutely myself, not in those same areas, but I'm saying like there were other opportunities. So then for me, it was more like I started questioning my own convictions, and I started questioning all these things. And am I right in this? And the truth is that I don't know if I was right or wrong, but I should have shared what I really felt and who I was, and then let them deal with that. And then if they, I don't know if it would have required a conversation. For them.
And that goes into like another part of the book that I really found interesting. And it was like voicing an unpopular opinion.
Yes.
And so that's part of you holding back from voicing exactly what you felt about it versus like, what do they want to hear right now? Or how would I sound like a better pastor, if you will?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and that's very hard to do, especially if you're talking about very, very critical topics, or where there's a really huge difference in opinions on, like, obviously you can talk about like political and stuff like that.
Right.
But I liked how what she said about it is, basically, you need to stand your ground. You need to voice your opinion on the subject with respect, but also, and then listen to what they have to say, because at the end of the day, really everything is an opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? So there really is not necessarily a wrong or right. It's if you're talking about how you're feeling about it or whatever. And that's what I really try to do when I'm talking. I was thinking about a work situation where we were all at the table at lunch and talking about something. And I was in the minority of what my opinion was on the subject. And I just thought, I almost felt a little bit bad, like, God, why don't I feel the same way they do? But then I was like, this is exactly how I feel. This is my conviction. This is what, and I just kept sharing it with, my heart. I didn't try to convince anybody that it was a right thing, but I was like, well, this is why I feel the way I feel,
Right.
And we had a great constructive conversation.
Yeah. And I think you're respected longer, better afterwards. Maybe you're not going to go out and have drinks, but you, but you can leave the conversation feeling, well, like I said, I felt things feeling sometimes a little dirty, slimy, or whatever, and you could leave there going, well, maybe that was uncomfortable, but I don't feel slimy.
Exactly.
I was,
and I think, and everything was fine. Yeah, exactly.
I love this. She has three little points. It says choosing authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we actually are. And then it says choosing authenticity means cultivating the courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and to allow ourselves to be vulnerable. So we talked about that earlier.
Right.
Exercising the compassion that comes from knowing that we are all made of strength and struggle, and nurturing and connection and sense of belonging that can only happen when we believe that we are enough. And we talked a little bit about us needing to be enough, and understanding that it is not possible, which I guess we're going to get into this at another time, but it's not possible to say, I love my kids, but I don't love myself.
Yeah.
I absolutely love my kids, but I don't love
Right.
myself. That's like you if you really truly are going to be able to love your kids, it's going to come out of something that's genuine in you, a wholehearted sense of loving yourself as well. Not to say that we screw up and there's things we don't like that we've done. But again, that's the difference between saying I've done something bad or I regret or I wish I
Right.
would have changed it or whatever, compared to I am bad and, I'm never going to be what I'm supposed to be or what I want to be, blah, blah.
It's interesting what you just read because I just put a post on my Instagram today. Yeah, this morning. And it was a picture. Peter sent me a picture of when we were in Rome. And he just sent it to me remember this day? And I was just like, oh my gosh. And it's just me by myself. And I remember, as soon as I saw the picture, I remember feeling very vulnerable because he's like, let me take a picture of you right here. So I'm in the middle of this like quad, if you will, and there's people walking by and I'm standing there by myself. It's so different when you're taking a selfie because you're in control of it and you're just like making sure you're somewhere and you're like, okay, but I was standing away from him by myself, posing for him. And I'm like, okay, hurry up, take the picture, smiling, And then in that very moment, and this is what my post was about, was for a second, I wasn't my authentic self because I was like, okay, I'm pretending like these people are walking around me. I'm actually stopping them from walking through this area.
Oh, right.
And what are they thinking of me? Oh, does she think she's cute posing like that? Does she think she has a cute outfit? Like literally that's what I was thinking of. So this topic is like, it just hit home right away because I was like, in that moment went, I don't really care what these people think. And this is a memory. And I do want this memory in front of this huge, beautiful building behind me. You know what I mean? And so it did take me a minute in that moment, but it also helped me learn and grow that I have to stop worrying about what someone, and I'm usually really good about that, not worrying about what people think.
I'm curious. So when you saw the picture today as a reminder, did you go back to that thought almost immediately?
Oh, I did.
So
I went, oh my God, I remember standing there going, oh, hurry up, take a picture. You know what I mean?
But what's interesting to me is, and this is one of the things that happened in the beginning of the book, is how she mentions how shame and that sense of wanting to belong and, all those things, how we all deal with it, and we deal with it at a higher level than we really, because it's funny that that moment is gone.
Yeah.
And yet now you've seen that picture and you immediately went back.
Yeah.
And so it's like shame is so very, I don't know if that's necessarily a shameful thing for you or what it is, but that sense of belonging, that sense that we're talking about here.
Like basically for me was, what are these people going to think as I'm standing here?
And so it's like, and maybe, I mean, Brene shares that story, the story of her being in a movie theater and taking a picture, and then somebody, said that picture was a horrible picture. And then she commented on how she was irritated about the picture. And then one of her students actually said, hey, I'm wondering if the real issue is that the picture was bad, or was the real issue that people saw you in a light that was like less than professional because you were watching a movie and you were just having a good time.
Right.
Whereas she's normally Dr. Brene and she's and all these different things. And she's sharing a super vulnerable moment. And in this really vulnerable moment, somebody rejected it. Yeah. Somebody said something. And I just, and it's interesting because when we are experiencing shame, it's like, it's immediate. I'll never forget. And I still cringe at something that I did when I was, one of my very first times of speaking in our church. Okay. And when we were meeting in a middle school. There was a worship song that we played that was something to do about fire. And I think it was called Set Me on Fire. And it was like the first song that they played. So you have to understand. So 5 songs later, I go up to do announcements. And then I said, wow, when that song played, Kaylin was going to get up and start hosing everybody down. No one knew who Kaylin is, just like you don't do. No one knew that Kaylin was a firefighter and just started a firefighting job. And no one knew what song I was talking about because it was the first song. And it was one of those things that I just said it. Everybody looked at me and went courtesy laugh, like I'm sure. And then Kalen was in the back of the room, and he said he about passed out because he was like, "Oh my gosh!" But every time now, I can kind of laugh about it. But for so long, it was like
you cringed every time you thought about it.
What did I do there? That's a silly little tiny thing. But the truth is that I have a gazillion of those times, and you're talking about sitting at a table and sharing, for sure, when you get into politics, I think when you get into religion, when you get into certain things, and see, because of my background, I mean, I have belief systems that are probably very different than a lot of like your traditional Christians. And so, and even when we started our church and when we did our church, we did things differently. But I think I was even more extreme than I allowed myself to be, because it's like, well, there's a line or whatever. And it's funny because when you do that, when I'm like that, I feel like, again, I feel that sense of being dirty. I just feel like, for me, this is a big deal when I read about the fact that, hey, everybody deals with it and everybody's got this thing, and what do we need to do about it? So, yeah, go for it.
There's just like, in this guidepost, I like how she says authenticity demands wholehearted living. And that's one of the reasons I had liked the title for the show, because I was like, that kind of sums it all up. And you have to be living wholeheartedly to be authentic.
Yeah. Yeah, and the truth is, it's like, I don't think, the other thing that she mentions, and just for those of you that are listening with us and not necessarily reading, these 10 guideposts that we're going to go through are not, they're not necessarily cherry picking, like, okay, I'm going to do this one. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. They work together. Like, you can't simply just pull, like, oh, I'm not going to do that one. Because the idea is just this, wholehearted living. If you're really planning on doing this, then we have to get to that point of being able to move beyond just doing certain things. I'm reminded.
Well, and she even says that, though. Yeah. Like, she says each guidepost has a different topic, if you will, but they are all also intertwined with one another.
Yeah. And she's going to do that as we continue to read through this together. She's going to intertwine different things. So hopefully, like I said, if you're reading, there are certain things. So Valerie and I are, just so you guys know, as listeners, what we're doing is we're picking some highlights, and I think we're picking things that are just impacting us. Again, we would love to hear from you and anything that you guys are thinking as well. But the goal is not to summarize the book as much as it is to share a little bit of our impact and our insights, or our thoughts, I should say, on what Brene is saying. So I just want to make sure that if you're thinking that this is just like book club, it's not.
Right. But I do want to share this.
No, sure.
No, but because I think that there's so many things that we can all learn from this, whether we really do struggle with authenticity or not. But she just mentions we don't want our authenticity to be perceived as selfish or narcissistic. And that kind of rang with me a lot, because a lot of times when you feel like you're being confident, self-assured, and you really know who you are, maybe it can come off that way, right? But then she moves on to say, like, there's a lot of she also feels like when she lives this way, she also feels like a gauntlet of gremlins. And she says, because she thinks of things like, what if I think I'm enough but others don't?
Yeah.
What if I let my imperfect self be seen and others know? God, I can't even talk. And nobody likes what they see.
Right.
What if my friends and family and coworkers like the perfect me better? The one who takes care of everything and everyone. And so it is becoming very vulnerable, because what if somebody looks at you and says, well, wait a minute, what happened to this perfect person who everything polished, and now I see this imperfect person who's a little more down to earth, if you will, vulnerable. I don't know.
Well, I think the thing that's interesting is, I'm going to use a really radical example, but an alcoholic is in your house and then they get sober. Everybody wants the person to get sober, right? But everything in that house changes when that person becomes sober, because depending on the nature of the family, they were protecting that person, maybe.
Right.
Or maybe instead of protecting them, they were rejecting that person, or maybe, who knows? But things happen things happened in that family to protect that parent. Maybe it's not an alcoholic. Maybe it's just a really angry parent, or it's a really disconnected parent. And then all of a sudden they start to live wholehearted living and they change. There is a ripple effect throughout the family.
Right.
And hopefully in the long run, it's going to be a good ripple effect.
Right.
But
at first it's probably,
it's going to feel more like waves
Yeah.
crashing.
Yeah.
And because it's like, what in the world is going on?
Right.
This is not what I expected. So when you are making changes, if you're thinking, well, I'm actually working toward this, but man, these people are not liking what they see. Well, it might not be that they're not liking it. It's just they're not used to it. This is new. And so I know for me, with my life and with different things where I've had to confront certain issues and I've had to talk about certain things. And so I'm just going to call one out. I don't have any issues with LGBTQ and all the other initials, which I forgot. I just don't have issues with that. And I haven't for years, for many, 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 many years. But I never said that. I never wanted to say that. I mean, I think my family and people close to me know that. But I was in a meeting not long ago where somebody brought it up, and they were a Christian, and they started bringing up, well, you know what I mean. And I said, actually, no, I don't. But here's the thing. I could have said, you are wrong, man. I don't know what your issue is. You have issues, and this is just so dumb. And let me just explain to you why you're wrong, and da-da-da-da. I didn't do that.
Right.
What I said to him is, honestly, this is not something that I am convicted on, and I really see it this way. And then I explained where I see it. And I think this is what you were talking about in regards to Bennie,
exactly.
is that it's like there's one way to like throw it out there and say, hey, you're a dork and you're an idiot and you need to get over this thing. And then there's another way to say, this is, I'm just speaking my truth, what's going on with me. This is the way I feel. And honestly, I left that guy fine.
Yeah.
We left totally fine. I'm not saying that not that we ever were best friends, but we left fine together. I think he just agreed that we're different.
Sure.
We're
and that's the thing. I even made that as a note. Sometimes you just have to agree to disagree, and really honestly just mean that. Like,
Right.
it's not nothing. I love what she says. Don't shrink, don't puff up.
Yeah.
But stand your ground, your sacred ground. And so it's like, if somebody says something like that, the person that you were speaking to, you don't want to shrink to that and become inauthentic by not responding how you really feel. But you don't need to puff up and be like, well, this is how I feel,
You're
and
an
I'm
idiot.
right, and
You're
you
an
don't
idiot.
believe
Yeah.
this way, you're crazy.
Exactly.
And so stand.
But what's so funny about saying just so you know, when I said it, I knew that this is going to create a ripple, but not just with him, because if he tells other people in this group I'm in, it's almost like, well, we don't believe that. So
Right.
what are you doing here? And I don't know what that's going to mean in the long run. I mean, it's been months, so I don't think it means anything. But what I'm really trying to get at is I have a choice. I could either say the group is more important to me, or my beliefs are more important to me. And at this point, it's like, to be my authentic self, to be the person that I'm supposed to be, then I have to speak. I have to be honest. But
Yeah.
I love that that's like her mantra. Whenever
Right.
she gets
It's
in
her
that situation,
mantra.
whenever she gets in that situation, she quotes that mantra. And
Yeah.
for me, I don't know what my mantra is. I just know that I guess what I say to myself is I say be genuine, be authentic right here. Because of our podcast name, I'm probably going to change it to Be Wholehearted.
But I agree with you, and I do this. I try to do the same. Like, I try in my mind, I'm thinking, I want to share, but I'm going to share with love, and I'm going to share gentle in that I'm not going to come at the person, or
Right.
I'm going to try not to come at them. I'm going to try to and understand where they're coming from. At the end of the day, I don't necessarily have to agree with them, and they don't have to agree with me. But like I just said, we can agree to disagree as
Right.
long as we both are doing it in a very diplomatic and respectful way, right?
Well, and I think it's interesting, and I think in our day and age, and what I think is hard right now, especially politically, is people don't seem to. You and I, for whatever reason, ever since being kids, we've always. I don't remember fighting with you.
Not really.
Did
no,
we? Yeah.
no.
Oh, we talked about the one fight that we
but
had
it
where I
was-
changed the channel.
Yeah.
But where I changed the channel and you hit
Yeah.
me and you made me cry. You're mean.
But we don't. But we don't. But no, we don't fight. And I mean, even to this day, if we don't agree, and there are things that we don't agree on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would.
And you're wrong most of the time.
I'm kidding. But I think, in all honesty, like if Peter said to me, you know, well, what do you and Benny not agree on? I would go, I can't really think of something at the moment. Only because we both have said our piece and respected each other's opinions on things, and we walk away. It's not earth-shattering to me. It's not like I feel like I need to change your mind or you need to change mine. I think we just let it be and we move on. And our relationship is way more important than about whatever the belief is that we were discussing, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think the other thing, and we might be going off of the book a little bit, but I think the other thing that's interesting is that when we talk, I think it's like, I want to hear what you have to say.
Exactly.
Instead of, hey, just hurry up and finish so I can say what I got to say.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I feel like with you is that I can be myself. I can say what I think. And now I will say I'm not always this way. There are times when I shrink back, but 99% of the time when I do that is because I'm just like tired and it's not worth it.
I'm not going to, exactly.
It's like I just don't want to get into it.
Right.
It's
There's times that you're just like, okay, I'm going to just get up and walk away.
Yeah. It's like, this is like, it's just not, I'm not saying it's right.
No, I understand. It's exhausting.
It might be right, but it is. It's exhausting to be your authentic self at times with folk who you are confident, because not everybody responds that way.
Right.
Like I might say that. Now this guy that I said it to I think he was somewhat dumbfounded that I wasn't on the same page as him. And so, but other people would argue, you know what I mean? They would just argue and argue and argue. And I'm like, I don't want to argue.
Right.
I'm just telling you what this is, I'm just telling you what I think.
Right.
So what I feel and what I think and my belief, and there you go. It's like,
and I think that's why you and I can do this, because I genuinely want to hear what you have to say. And I don't think that there's many things we do disagree on, but the couple times that I realize, oh, we're not seeing eye to eye on this one, but I still want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
And I respect and I learn from it.
Yeah.
But
whether you choose to take it in, that's a different subject.
Exactly.
Right. And me too. Same thing.
Yeah.
So I think the point, though, let's go back. What's guidepost number 1 again? Guidepost number 1 is cultivating authenticity. Why can't I say that right?
I know.
Cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. And I think that is, honestly, just the title alone is killer.
Exactly.
Because I know for me, I want people to look at me in a certain way. And you know what's funny is that if you look at the way I dress. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean,
do I have to?
Exactly. But what's funny is that I remember growing up and people would say, oh, I just don't care. You know, I just don't care what I dress like. And I'm saying, okay, well then wear this. It's like, oh,
right.
Well, I won't wear that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
it's like, so the truth is like, even people that say they don't care, it's because what they're really saying is, I want everybody to perceive me as casual or perceive me in that particular way.
Right.
It's like, we do care. It's like everybody cares. And even for me, I feel weird when I'm really dressed up. It's just not the way I am. I work virtually practically.
Right.
That's all I do. And so it's it's really nice to be.
Do you know
chill.
that when I worked at home during the pandemic and I
you still dress like this?
Oh
yeah,
you?
yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
your mom.
I know. I am.
I know. Mom showers with her makeup on and all her clothes.
No, but I mean, to this point of living your authentic self, there are times that I have said to myself, gosh, I wish I could be more of the person that would throw on leggings and tennis shoes and sweatshirt and just go run errands with Peter. And then I try to do that. I even put it on. And then I'm like, this is so not me. And I'm so not comfortable in this. And I take it off. Like I work out in this stuff. I don't go run errands in this stuff.
Right.
And so
me too. So what I do is I put on jeans and I go, this is not me. And I put on sweats. Just kidding.
But no, you got to be true to who you are and not worry about what other people think about it.
The key thing is not letting because I think that some people who are listening probably don't know who they are, because they've been spending so much time thinking about what other people think. They still haven't figured out who they are. And so maybe the reason why it's worded the way it is because the first thing we need to do is let go of what people think.
Yeah.
Because if we can
Letting
let go of what
go of
people
it.
think, it might help us discover who we are.
Do you know how much more fun I had taking that picture when I finally just told myself, because it's not like
You
we were
enjoyed
standing out there
Rome.
for 10 minutes, but I mean, he said, oh, go take a picture. And I go, okay, how fun. And then I stood there and went, oh my gosh, I'm doing this in front of people that have to walk around me because I'm in the way and they're looking at me and I'm smiling, but do I have a real smile? And then once I realized who cares what these people think, this is a memory, I want this picture, I actually enjoyed taking the picture. You know
For
what
sure.
I mean? And it was so freeing.
Very cool. So guys, that's our call to you, letting go of what other people think of you. Do that today. Guidepost number 2, I'm just going to let you know, we're not going to talk about it next week. We'll talk about it. It's cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism.
I cannot wait to
so
read
all of
this.
you perfectionists out there, this is going to be super helpful, I hope.
I'm kind of scared to read it.
I'm actually looking forward to reading it again. I have read this book, but it's been a while, so I don't remember things. So anyway, Valerie, as usual, it's been very cool. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Higgy, happy birthday. We're going to sing to you.
Happy
Birthday to you.
to
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, dear.
Happy birthday to you.
We're going to let go of what people think. Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at A Daily Dose of Cocoa.
And I'm at Benny Gonzalez on Instagram. So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Guidepost number 2. All right.
Have a good week.
Ciao.
Bye.